We're going to kick off our course on computer networks by asking a very simple question. What is a network? Well, it's nothing more than two computers connected together by a single cable. And so what's the point of this? Well, in its simplest form, when we connect two computers together, the goal is to get them to share resources, whether it's sharing files or them communicating back and forth, or maybe them even printing from one device to the other if the other one's a printer. And that's really all that a computer network is at its very simplest form. Two devices connected together, shared by a cable. So now let's talk about it a bit further. Now, when we're talking about a computer network at its most basic level, there are two main aspects. And the first aspect is the physical connection, and the second aspect is the logical connection. So let's talk about the physical connection first. That's simply the wires in the cables and the wireless media. So in this example, if we're connected with a network cable, then we're talking about the wires, and we're talking about the network interfaces cards on the back of each device, and that's it. If we're talking about Wi-Fi, then we're talking about the wireless interface cards on the back of each computer and the wireless signals that are transmitting over the air back and forth. So now let's talk about the logical connection. What's the logical aspect? Well, when we talk about the logical aspect, when we're talking about computer networks, we're talking about the data that is being transported back and forth across this medium from one computer to the other. And so when you think about a computer network, at its very simplest form, it's really nothing more than this. So now let's go ahead and let's take a look at a couple examples. And now for those of you that are new to computer networks, the easiest way to think about a computer network is either your home network or a small office network, maybe like a dentist's office, or maybe if you have your own small business, your own small business office. And typically what we're used to seeing is what's called a SOHO network, and SOHO stands for Small Office and Home Office Network. And what that is, that's really that device that you have connected up to your modem or your DSL router. That's that all-in-one small office and home office device, and we'll talk about that a bit more in the course. But here's a picture that kind of just shows you what we're talking about here. So this would be a typical home network or a typical small office network. We have an internet connection, we have our DSL connection, or maybe you have a cable connection. And then we have at the border, we have our wireless firewall router or modem where it's connected up through the wall into your office or your home. And in there we have what's called a switch, but in many times the switch is connected within this and it's all one big device. And then either wirelessly or wired, we're connected to some devices at home. Now, I only put this in the most simplest form with maybe you have a desktop or a couple desktops, you have a wireless connected laptop, and you have a network printer. But of course, if we're thinking about even small offices like a dentist's office or your home, everybody's going to have their smart devices connected as well. They're going to have their tablets, their iPads, and their smartphones connected to the network as well. And even if you have a smart house with smart devices, you can even hook up, you can hook up your cable, you can hook up your appliances, you can hook up your home security system. So lots of different devices can be hooked up. But typically this is what we're used to seeing at a very small scale. And let's take a look at one more example just to end this lecture. So here's another example, and more so, this is based upon a small office type of a design. We have our internet connection, and we have a T1 line dedicated for this small office. They have a router on the end, and don't worry if you don't know what any of this stuff is. We're going to talk about what each device does. So if you don't know what a router is, that's okay. If you don't know what a firewall, that's okay. It's kind of expected that you don't, but I'm just charting to help you visualize how everything is connected, and then as we go through the course, it's all going to make sense. So getting back to the diagram, we have our router connected to our firewall, then we have a switch that everything connects to, and then we have a file server where maybe we share files. We have an authentication server where everybody has to authenticate to log into the network, and then we have our workstations, and we have a printer. And this is typically what you're going to see with small office network. And again, SOHO stands for Small Office, Home Office Network, and typically that's what you're going to see. And if you take anything away from this course and you decide to try to hook up your own network, this is the type of network you're probably going to be able to set up yourself, and you're going to feel confident enough to do yourself. So that's going to go ahead and conclude our first lecture. The main key takeaway before we end this is, remember, a network is nothing more than two computers connected together by a cable to share resources at its very simplest form, and we're just going to build upon that foundation to build upon our understanding of computer networks as we move on in this course.